Our story begins in the palace of the ruler Digwa, whose wife was giving birth on that day, and the delivery seemed to be difficult, and also the weather was raining terrifyingly. We he see the ruler Digwa remembering a while ago that was to a temple called the Temple of the Devil, and the priest who was there, demons warned him to stay away from demons or any alliance with them, but Digwa tells him that the kingdom is going through a very terrible state of drought and destruction, and people are dying from extreme poverty, and what he is going through is evil itself. So he kills the priest and performs the ritual of summoning demons in the temple, and summons 12 demons. The agreement is that they take anything they want from him, no matter how important. Country important. And in return, they let his country get rid of the drought it is in. We return after that to the present, and a very strong lightning occurs, and Diggo's wife gives birth, and he enters to check on the child. And here the shock is that the boy has no skin or limbs, and his face is all the bones. Despite his frightening appearance, the mother was happy and wanted to keep, but that Digwa is happy far away, because this means that the demons accepted his treaty, and with all cruelty, he asks the maid to throw the child in the river. But the mother keeps crying and actually goes to the river, but feels guilty, so she puts him in a boat and lets him go away and tells him that his life or death is something that can be returned to that moment, and we see that there is a monster in the form of a huge spider that ate the maid and was going to kill the child, but an old man named Bunararo kills the monster. And Bunararo is blind, but has the ability to see a person's energy. Good doctor, good or evil. And 16 years pass, and we see the Dr. Gokai, who makes and installs prosthetic limbs for people, disabled from which many were injured, but we will know more about him in a little while. And we see a little boy named Dororo who sells three things to people, but he steals them, and the 3 men from whom he stole the things come to beat him, but he runs away from them, and they keep chasing him until they catch him at the river. They kept beating him, but he was very stubborn until he saw a young man standing on the bridge, and he appeared to be the same child, Digwa's son, and we saw something moving in the river, who a monster appeared and ate the 3 men who were beating Dororo. It was about to eat Dororo, but the young man fought it and was able to defeat it easily. At that moment, Dororo approached him and tried to talk, nor he could neither hear nor see because he had all his prosthetic limbs fitted. Dororo collected his prosthetic limbs and fitted them to him, but we saw that the young man, whose name is Hyakimaru, and his plastic face fell off, and then real skin grew in its place. He was very surprised. At the same time, in Digwa's kingdom, the black cloud that was there before began to not return again, and this was something strange. Even though Digwa did not disobey any orders of the demons, he quickly went to that demon base, and he discovered that there were 12 statues in it, each one representing a specific demon. He was broken and was very surprised by what he saw, and all of this situations related to each other, and we know that Digwa had a second son after Hyakimaru, but of course he doesn't know that he has a brother, and Dororo doesn't leave Hyakimaru alone, even though he doesn't. He says to him, "What is your name?" But Hikimaru doesn't respond to him, and Hikimaru then goes fishing with the swords raw, but Dororo lights a fire and cooks the fish for him. We learn later that Hikimaru only sees human energy. If its color is red, it means he is an evil demon, and kills him immediately, and if its color is white, it means he is good. That's why he didn't kill Dororo, because he sees his energy as white and peaceful. The next day, Dororo tells him that they must find something to work in so that they can eat. They then arrive at a village that is clearly rich, and the village leader's assistant meets them. Dororo tells him that they can kill ghosts or any evil person so they can protect them in exchange for food and drink. Agrees and lets them spend the night in his house's storeroom. The Nexton takes them to the leader. We learn that his name is Bando, and she tells them, "Sorry, but I'm tired and I can't go out." And Dororo thinks she is very beautiful, unlike Takemimaru, who attacks her, but Dororo stops him, and the villagers come after that and lock them in the storehouse, and Dororo is surprised by his friend's behavior, but suddenly, old Naru appears to them and is able to know that Hikimaru is the same child that he saved a long time ago. And Dororo understands that he and Hikimaru do not see, but they can recognize Hikimaru as a monster, so he quickly goes to kill him and falls into a hole, and old Naru takes Dororo and they run after the monster and arrive again to the room of the village, a village leader, and she tries to tell them, "I am a sick woman and you came to kill me." But Naru tells her, we see your evil energy." The monster leader does not deny their words and turns into a monster after that, and a battle takes place between her and Hikimaru, and she is able to hit him with her tentacles, but Kimimaru hits her with his sword in her eyes and she runs away to the forest, and he goes them after her, and a very strong battle takes place between them, but Kimimaru hits her, so she returns to her human form and tells him it was a big mistake that he left you alive. You must have come to take revenge, to get back what you... And she does not have time to finish her words, and Kimimaru is her killer, and Dororo sees money. The village confesses that he is the one who agreed with this devil because the village was very poor and the monsters were killing its people, and the agreement was that he would bring her travelers to kill them and absorb their with the travelers' money, and then they would for the village to look for another village to work in, and Dororo thanks Hikimaru. He apologizes to him because they did not believe him when he attacked the monster, and Hikimaru writes a word on the ground. He and old Naru reads it, and we know that he wrote the word Hikimaru, and they know that this is his name, so he and Dororo will be two sisters. After that, the kingdom of Digwa will have a military coup because of the betrayal of one of his ministers, and it is clear that the world has started to go wrong for him. Now, let's get to know more about Dr. Gakkai. At a time when wars were destroying the people, were killing and injuring people, and they were losing parts of their bodies because of battles or even army attacks, one of the people who used to torture and cut off body parts was Gakkai. But when he found his wife died in front of him, he decided to leave the army and compensate people for what he was doing. He started making prosthetic limbs from wood and plastic for people who lost their real limbs. A young man named Kanai was working with him, and Gakkai had saved him and fitted him with a prosthetic leg before. Kanai respected Dr. Gakkai very much, but after he found out that he was an officer in the army, he was about to kill him, and Gakkai was very submissive, but Kanai left him after that and walked him away, telling him that he was sad that he called him his trainer before, and Gakkai is very sad and goes to the river and by chance falls to the shore Kimaru as a child. He takes him and raises him and makes him prosthetic limbs and keeps protecting him, but with the presence of many monsters who want to kill Gakkai, he decides to train him to fight. After that, Gakkai discovers that he does not even have the sense of pain. One day, Kimaru kills one of the demons and suddenly his prosthetic leg falls off and a real leg grows back. Here we know the truth about the 12 demons and that each one of them took a part or sense from Hikimaru. In return, the demons fulfilled Daigo's wish. For this reason, every time Hikimaru kills one of the demons, a part of his body returns to him, and Daigo suffers a calamity or problem in exchange for killing each demon. For this reason, Gokai allows Hykimaru to travel and kill more monsters. Naru tells him all of this is necessary, and he is very Hykimaru only. Suddenly, Hykimaru comes and puts his foot in the fire, and it hurts him, and thus he feels the pain again after killing the demon panda. They move after it and reach the temple, and there is a beautiful girl named Ausish, but suddenly, Yakimaru comes out running after him, and they find many people killed, and he goes out to find out that the one who killed them was a normal young man, but the sword in his hand is a demonic sword, and he controls him. So Hykimaru fights him, but the young man hits the sword in with his prosthetic leg, and the sword falls far with Hykimaru's leg, and the young man falls from the top of a high hill. Droro comes down after that to get Hykimaru's leg, but he holds the sword and controls it, and we know that this young man is Osish's brother, and she takes him and treats him, but when he wakes up, he searches for the sword, and it is clear that he is attached to it, and we see Droro trying to resist the demonic sword, but he is unable, and it dies, and throws the sword far away to Roro, and then faints, and the young man comes and takes the sword, and a very strong fight begins between them, and then comes Osish's sister, and with a light movement from Ikara, he is able to kill the young of heaven, and breaks the sword, and with that his sense of heaven returns, and the first thing he hears is Osish crying. And although hearing is a blessing, Hikara was very annoyed by him, and afraid of all the sounds he hears and does not want to stop, so Droro whops a piece of cloth over his ear in order to reduce the sounds, but the sound remains still there, and a bird with evil energy attacks them, but because of its loud voice, Hikaru did not know how to fight it to the point the bird wounded him, and Droro was reassuring him by asking him where the bird came from and was able to hit him, but it would have killed them, so Naru comes and kills the bird. And after that he treats Hykimaru's wounds, and Hykimaru hears the voice of a girl singing, and her voice is very voice, so they go to the voice, and it is a girl in the river, and as soon as he gets close to her, he falls from exhaustion, so Manano and Droro take Naru goes to the old temple where she lives, and she begins to treat it. We learn that she lives here with a group of orphan children, and they come and she introduces them to them. She also has a little brother, who is Droro's age.
Brother tells her, "You go out and I will sit with them because they are men," and Droro finds Mono's brother washing clothes, so he washes them with him, and they become close to each other and become friends. And he tells her brother that Mono, she is the one who brings these children together and has nothing but this old temple so that they can live there, but during a war she will soon arise, and his sister Mono dreams of getting them a far off house and wheat seeds so that they can plant them next to their house and live on them. That is why she works in the two camps that will fight each other, but of course no one knows, just so that she can bring food from each of their camps. And then we see the old man Naru walking and telling them that he is looking for a house because children live in it. And after walking a long time, he finds an empty place, but we see a creature in it that is clearly a monster. Hykimaru is very attached to Mono, and Droro notices this and tells Mono that Hykimaru can see people's energy. Hykimaru brings his hand close to Mono's lips, and she doesn't understand what he wants. Droro tells her that maybe he wants her to sing, and she actually sings for him. It appears that Kimimaru is focused on her. Priest Anar returns and tells them that he found a good and spacious monster, and there is a small problem, which is that there is a monster, and it is clear that it is very strong, and not anyone can defeat hesitation. But Kimimaru, without hesitation, gets up with confidence and goes to fight the monster, and Naru follows him. At this time, we see Mono going to work, and by chance Droro sees her and knows that she works as a prostitute in the camps. He gets annoyed with her during the battle between the monster Hykimaru and Naru. The monster is very strong and is able to leave Hykimaru and cuts off his leg. They take Naru and he quickly runs away. Mono comes after him, And so the first thing she sees is Kimaru crying and helping him and starting his wounds. In BV, Daogi is very worried because of the war and also the drought that the country is going through, but his son Tahomer asks him to participate in the war and that he is no longer a child. Also, his mother refuses very much and tells him that since his father refused, then it's over. So he takes his horse and sleeps on his men and runs off, remembering that his mother was always sad and did not, one, care about him. He is sure that there is a secret that no one wants to tell him, and he is determined to know it. As for Kimaru, he does not give up and tries to make a man from wood. Mono comes to him and sits with him and does not want to get close to him because she is afraid that he will see her soul and that it will be an evil soul, but he sees her soul and it is very pure and sings to him while he's merged with her. Naru sees an evil energy inside him and tells Joro that Kimimaro has had evil energy and good energy since he was a child, but until now, he is still a good person. And Naru says that he is afraid of the evil energy controlling him. After that, Mono is off to work, but one of the Second Army sees her, and they know that she is working with the Second Army. He says that she must be a spy. At night, Kimimaru goes to fight a monster, and Droro knows, so he quickly goes after him. Hayakimaru remains in a very strong battle with the monster. There was a rain that was about to fall, but Hayakimaru kills the monster, so the rain does not fall, and he returns again with Droro. Hayakimaru's severed leg grows back when he defeated the demon, but when they returned, the army has burned the temple, killed all the children, and killed Mono as well. At that moment, Yakimaru's voice returns and he screams and kills all the soldiers in a horrible way, but Droro stops him and tells him not to be evil, that Mono wanted you to be a good person. After that, Droro and Kimimaru walk, and Droro tries to laugh, but it is no use. He remains silent, but Droro senses he laughed, and suddenly a female monster attacks them and fights her Kimimaru.
And quickly, and she is not very strong, but she escapes quickly and feeds, and wants to kidnap any human because she feeds on human souls. After that, Droro and Kikimar lead him. Kikimar arrive to the village, but the village guard stopped them, and it is forbidden for anyone to enter or leave the village because, village without permission. They know that this is because one or two people are kidnapped from the village every day. Of course, they know that it is because of the monster they accepted. The monster can crawl until it enters the village and faints. The next day, a farmer from the village, whose name is Gabra, sees her and discovers that she is a beautiful woman. He wakes her up and takes her to his house when he finds her tired. He cooks for her and she intends to kill him and absorb his power, but he treats her well and cooks food for her and goes to work hungry. Even when he comes back from work, he treats her very well, and she feels that he is different from all the other people. At night, she is done. Appearance, she will kill him, but she goes back on her words and her appearance impressed him, and then she sleeps, and Dororo she's, attached that whoever can catch the monster who eats course will have a very large reward, and of course Dororo gets excited because this village is very poor and does not even have food, but the farmer, Jabra, sees that the woman with him is the monster, and her face is pale and she looks tired, so he tells her that he will smuggle her out because also there are no doctors in the village here, and also entry and exit must be with a permit, so at night he smuggle her out so that she can live. And indeed at night he smuggles her out, but they meet Kikimaro and Dororo. And Dororo recognizes her from her voice and tells the farmer that she is a monster and they must kill her. But despite this, surprised, he stands and defends her. And she is surprised that he is still protecting her, and people from the village guards come to and to arrest her, but she turns into a monster and kills farmer Jabra and escapes, but the guards chase her and kill the farmer while she becomes very angry and transforms more and kills them all. After that, she cries and returns to her human form, so Hikimaru leads her because he feels that she is not evil. We then go to another village and see that the people are afraid, and this is because of the monster that is controlling the entire village. We see Druro and Hikimaru walking until they reach this village. By coincidence, there is a wedding ceremony, but a child wearing furs the name Saru comes. He tries to shoot arrows at the people who are carrying the bride, and Druro stops him and asks him why you are doing this. So Saru tells him that there is a monster living inside a huge black cloud that comes every now and then and destroys the village. In order for the villagers to escape from him, he tells them every time he comes, prepare him like one of the village girls and hand her over to him, so he kills her, and then they stays for a while until he comes, and the girl they are handing over this time is his big sister. Dororo tells him that he will help him and that Hikimaru is very strong and knows how to kill monsters. He actually goes with Dororo and Hikimaru to beat up the guards. Insaro tries to take his sister, but she refuses and tells him that this will prevent many people from dying, and she agrees to sacrifice her life, but the cloud comes and a monster. He does nothing because he sees himself surrounded by a wall of evil energy and does not know what to do, and the monster attacks them and was going to kill them. But sunlight comes and enters the cloud, so the monster escapes and the cloud disappears after that, and they know that he is afraid of his returns with Droro, who is Hikimaru, and he tells them about him, and we know that his family died burned hut and expelled him, and no one treated him well except for Suwani. Then the girl who was kidnapped, and since then, he considered her his sister, and she cared for him, and when he knew that she was kidnapped, he wanted to save her, but he couldn't. He saves her, and Dororo agrees with him on a plan to Dororo to defeat the monster. And actually, because one day Dororo wears the girl's clothes, then the cloud appears, and Saro and Doro are able to set the monster on fire. And they think that he is dead, but he puts out the fire and attacks them. But Hikimaru comes and fights him, but that he still has the same problem, that he does not know where the monster is, so he understands the problem and clings to the monster to confront Hikimaru. But he gets confused and loses consciousness after that, and remains clinging to the monster. And Hikimaru, when he does not hear his voice, screams as if calling him until he wakes up. And Hikimaru was able to get the monster out of the cloud to the sun, and he gets burned. But it turns out to be a monster and swallows them, but Hikimaru kills him and the monster dies, and they fall into the river after that, and Sara's sister is still alive, and she wakes up after that, and Hikimaru's artificial nostrils fall off, and real nostrils grow, and after that he thanks them, Saro and his sister, who tells them that she will take him to live with her in the village, and then Doro, Kimaru, and Binkuro leave very tired and falls and loses consciousness and has a very high temperature, and Kimaru tries to ask for help, but no one helps him until a nun comes and helps them and takes him to treat him in the temple. And when he wakes up, he is very scared because he thinks, but the nun reassures him that he will come back as soon as he brings water from the well. And then Yakimaru comes and tells Dororo about himself, and we know his story, and that his father was a tribal leader and fought against the samurai who wanted to take over the country, and at that time they despised the peasants, and his father was a very strong person, and his mother was a beautiful woman. But his father had an assistant now has a large army, and it is necessary to unite with the samurai because they will take a high position, but Dororo refuses. And one day when he was attacking the samurai, his camp, he discovers that there is betrayal, and it is from his friend also, leaves him in his leg with arrows, and he goes to Dororo with his father, shelter, and mother, and they live very difficult days after they had no shelter and village or anything. And by chance one day they pass by a village upset by the samurai, and Roro's father gets upset by the samurai's words and fights with them and kills them all, but he also dies. And Roro's mother continues to raise him.
And one day she sees the samurai in distributing food, and she goes to stand in line time with the people to take food. At that time, Itachi, and who became the deputy leader, sees her and humiliates, almost finished, running for not food. The soldier says to her, "You do not have food, have anything to take it." So she tells him, "Put the food in his hand," and the food is boiling, and she takes the food in her hands, and Roro eats, and after a while, soon after, the mother dies, and the last thing she says to Roro is that the war, Kimaru, will end, so don't give up. Kimaru hears all of this, and Roro doesn't know. After 3 days, he wakes up, and they continue walking. On the other hand, a man comes to Digua and tells him that a woman said that she saw a child with no limbs or skin placed in a boat 16 years ago. Now, some of our men saw a young man with the same specifications who was the one killing the monsters. With this, Digua is sure that his son is still alive. Homer heard everything but still doesn't understand what is going on. Digua goes to the devil's temple and finds all the statues broken and asks the devil if the child is still alive and brings him a picture. We see Kimaru bathing in the river, and Dororo notices a chain with a logo
hanging around his neck. When Dororo asks him about it, he tells him that he doesn't know anything about it. Tohoma's soldiers bring the man who was telling Digua about Hyakimaru, asks him what he knows. So he tells them, but tries to kill himself, but the soldiers too catch him before he dies. Homer goes to ask his father who the young man is who wants to catch him and who disappeared 16 years ago. Digua gets upset and tells him that he has nothing to do with it and that he just mind his own business. Homer feels insulted at that time and tries to stay away from the palace. But two of his assistants find him while he is in a village belonging to his kingdom, and the people ask him for help and tell him that there is a monster in the sea and that it is very huge and no one knows how to control it. Homer decides to help them, so he takes the soldiers and a group of fishermen, and boats, and they go down to attack the monster, which is a crab, but very big, and it is savage and strong that no one knows how to control it. Of course, Homer is defeated in front of it, so he decides not to withdraw and makes another plan, which is that they will build a dam, and when the crab enters the dam, it will take all the water to the second and fight the monster on land. And they actually do that, and the plan succeeds, and the crab is about to be defeated, but a very smart monster appears and throws a stone at the dam and breaks it, and the water enters again, and the crab was about to eat one of Tomer's assistants, but then Hikimaru comes, and with one move kills the monster and saves them, and of course no one knows that Hikimaru is Tomer's brother, and the two of them themselves do not know that they are siblings, and then because Dororo asks them for money, because Hikimaru saved them, and Tomer gives him money and tells Hikimaru his name, and Hikimaru answers him and tells him and his name, and we see Dororo and Hikimaru arrive at the kingdom of Digua because it is very prosperous, and in order to gain money from it, and by chance, a homeless woman, when she sees Hikimaru, she screams and says, "The monster is back again," and they meet after that in the village Old Naru, and he tells them that he will go to Sakaru's wall, and we know the wall that separates the kingdom of Digua and the kingdom of Scauro, and they find people talking that the reason for the destruction in the kingdom of Digua is because of the Scauro wall, because many people were killed there, so a strong evil spirit appeared in it, and we see Taxers the assistants telling Digua about the young man bee who has prosthetic limbs, and Digua tells them, if you see the young man Dahani,
kill him immediately, and his wife tells him that they abandoned him to the demons and they will definitely be punished because of him, but Degawa does not listen to her and tells her that he will not abandon his people or his country for the sake of his child. And we see that Dror and Hikimaru went to the Sakaru wall, and Hikimaru feels that there is a very strong evil force in the wall, and they tells a child named Soko, who tells them that his family is in the village of Sakara and he is trapped here and does not know how to go to them, because in the morning there are soldiers fill the place, and at night evil spirits fill the place, and he knows how to escape. So Dororo decides to help them, and they stay until nightfall. Indeed, the monster appears, and they are very large in number. Hikimaru and Dororo fight them, and the monsters are very strong, almost stronger than Hikimaru himself, but Soko takes the opportunity and crosses the wall, goes to other monster, and escapes to the second kingdom. Dororo goes after him, and the monster was about to kill Hikimaru, but Hikimaru manages to hit him, and the monster disappears. It appears that Degao is there, and he tells his soldiers to kill him, but Hikimaru escapes from them, and Dororo and Soko's soldiers catch them and take them to prison. We see Homer, she, the homeless woman, and she still screams when she sees him and tells him that the young man who was eaten by the demons has returned to regain his body. So he brings her to Homer's help, and we learn that this woman is the mother of
Dagwa's wife, and she tells Homer everything. He quickly returns to his mother and says to her, "How could you abandon your son?" Then Dagwa comes and tells him that the country was collapsing, and the agreement he made within the demons is the reason for the prosperity they are in. Now, brother, now, and he tells him that he must choose either his brother or their kingdom and their people. And we see that Hayakimaru comes to her house with Daigwa, and he hears his mother saying to him, "My son." But Daigwa orders the soldiers, Dororo, soldiers to kill him, and he escapes from them. And we see Dororo in prison, and he tells Soko that he will escape, and he and the Kimaru will come back to save him. And indeed, Dororo escapes, and the two prisoners help him escape, and they keep the soldiers busy. And the two kingdoms start a war against each other, and Dororo and Kiaru meet, and each one tells the other what happened to them, and they go to save Soko. But the war has started, and Hayakimaru comes, and everyone calls him a demon. And Tomer comes and says to him, "He is my brother," and apologizes to him for what his family did to him, and says to him, "I have to kill you, so that my country remains strong." And they fight each other, and they are both very strong. And Dororo tries to attacks Soko, but the monster appears and attacks them, but Dororo calls for Hayakimaru, who saves him and kills the monster, and hurts his brother in the eyes, but at that moment, their mother comes and says to him, "My son, he is Kimimaru, I am sorry that I did not protect you before, and also I will not be able to protect you now." And she kills herself with a dagger so that the demons take her and her soul instead of her son. And at that time, Sakura wall collapses, and Hekimaru finds his family, and Dororo and Hekimaru move to a new village. After that, we see Hayakimaru and Dororo looking for his new village and a new adventure. And at the same time, his mother, Kimimaru, is very sick after she cut herself with the knife, and Hekimaru is thinking about what happened and is very upset about the injury that happened to him, and Dororo is collecting firewood when he reaches a river and sees a statue that looks strange, but a frightened woman comes from behind him and calls it, so Dororo is frightened. When looks at her, he is surprised because she looks a lot like his mother.
Droro keeps looking at her a lot, and she introduces Okaka. Droro and takes her to the place where he and Kimaru are sitting. Okaka cooks for them and keeps talking to them. Droro is very happy and also asks is Okaka to call her mom. She is very surprised but agrees. Droro asks her about the story, River. She tells them that long ago there was a very skilled sculptor in the village who sculpted the statue. However, the sculptor was confused about the face that he should sculpt for the statue, but he died after that without making a face for the statue. Spirits inhabit the statue. Not only that, but the statue revives to the sculptor who made it and asks him to bring him people to take their faces so that there will be a suitable face for the statue. We are surprised after that when Okaka, she tells them that she is the sculptor and she can change her face to anyone. She tells them that put them hypnotized by food. Droro gets tired and falls asleep after that. Okaka ties Kimimaru Dororo and leaves. After a while, Droro gets up and runs quickly to save his brother Hikikamaru. He goes after them, but he is still dizzy and calls Okaka and tells her not to hurt his friend. Kiaro wakes up and cuts the rope and starts fighting with Okaka, but he falls into the river after that. Droro talks to her and tells him that there is a good person inside him and devil, and he must come back again and not listen to the devil. After that, Okaka comes out of at the river. Okaka completes the ritual, but Hayakimaru is not the right fight.
Right one, so the sculptor collapses, and Hikimaru fights the statue and is able to leave it in his mouth and destroy it. After that, the sculptor asks his role to come closer to him and puts his hand on his face. The sculptor then disappears, and Hikimaru and his role go to take a bath. When they reach the river, it is very hot, and they are surprised by the priest Naru, who is bathing with them. A little while later, other children from the village come and lie down with them in the river. The children notice something strange on Droro's back, and it turns out that there is a map on his back. We go back to the past and learn that while Doro was collecting a lot of money from his wars with the samurai, when he lost everything and lost his army, he decided to draw a map so that when Doro grew up, he would take the money, half of the map being drawn on Waldoro's back, and the second half on the back. Dororo clears, and we return to the present and Dororo. They say that this is the first time he has noticed the map, and that it has not appeared before. The Naru tells him that it must have appeared because of hot water, and that it will not appear until his back is exposed to heat later. He tells Naru that they must extract this treasure, because it is their strongest weapon now. He asks him and says to him that when they are finished and she is a Kimaru who regains his body, what will he do next? He also tells him that it can help people and the hatred she was destroyed by wars and demons, and she must think well. After that, Hikimaru and Hikimaru walk, and by chance they hear a sound, and Doro is surprised by the presence of a ghost, but it looks cute and holds Doro and keeps saying to it, Mama. Doro is afraid of it, but the goblin looks like a hyena, and the ghost takes them to a place that is a temple, and the goblin keeps running after Doro and playing with it. As a Kimaru, he finds a substance on the ground, and they discover that it is gasoline, and at that moment the goblin disappears, and a man comes to them, and Doro is very afraid of his eyes. But it is Kimaru, who sees a mixed energy inside him, and it turns out that he is the leader of the village, and his name is Spammy, and he is hosting them and brings them food and talks to them, but everyone asks him about the temple, so everyone goes to the temple, and Spammy tells them what happened in the temple took orphan children, and instead of raising them, she made them work for very long hours, without mercy or rest, and if they refused to work, she would beat them and torture them, and after that she would sell those children as slaves, and because of what she did, not very strong lightning struck the temple, and it burned down everything, and we were not able to save even the children who were in it. And Doro go to sleep, but Doro is very afraid, and suddenly he sees a monster in the form of a very large worm, and it was about to eat him, but Kimaru wakes up and wards off the monster and keeps hitting it, and it was about to kill takes the worm and walks, and we see the wild butterfly that has turned into a beautiful one and agrees with the village leader and hugs her, and she says that she couldn't talk to them because they are strong now. And Spam tells her that he will to protect her and her children and will not allow anyone to hurt them. And the next day they wake up and eat together, and Dororo tells the village leader about the monster that killed him yesterday, and he tells them that they can stay here for a while, and that he will host them. But Kimaru is not comfortable at all with Sumdabi, so he goes to watch him, and Dororo after that he wanders around the village and he feels that its people are good people, and he sits with them, but when he brings up the incident at the temple, everyone moves away from him and looks at him in a terrifying way, and Kimaru goes after Sumdabi, who is standing in the same butterfly devil, and he meets the butterfly devil, and she knows that Kimaru is behind him, and they confront each other, and Sumdabi confesses that he made a deal with the devil, and he married her so he could protect
village from destruction, and we see who arrives at an old way house and goes in to see what is inside. And when he enters the place, it is dark, so he stumbles and falls and finds a small door, but the villagers run and throw him in the cabin and lock it. And he finds a very large number of monsters, and they keep running after him while he screams, and they were about to attack him. But the cute-looking goblin that he met appears, and they say that he will protect him because he is good, and the goblin transforms. And many goblins come out of him, and they are the souls of the children who were killed, and they finish off all the monsters. And he sees everything that happened to them, and that Samabi is the one who killed the nun, and also all the villagers were with him and set fire to the temple, and took the children to offer them as sacrifices of the demon to protect them. And Doro cries because of save the children. He tells him there is no time. Let's save Hyakimaru, and Hyakimaru is with the village leader. He tells him that he doesn't care about what he says, but he will kill the demons because they are the real evil. Samabi laughs at his words, and we know that this place is full of demon children, and the eggs will hatch, and they will come out and attack Hyakimaru them after that, and whoever is able to kill them will finish them off. One of them takes Hyakimaru and flies away, but he is able to kill him, and he falls to the ground. But the little demons set the whole village on fire, and it is clear that they turned against the villagers. Doro goes to Hyakimaru and tells him everything, take everything, and he knows the location of the demon queen. They take Doro fire, and the demon queen appears to them, and he sets her on fire. She is Kimimaro, and she dies after that, and he returns to him the real pillar of poverty instead of the industrial one. But when Doro finds that the whole village gets burned, and there is no one left in it, not even a crop, he gets very upset and says to Kimimaro, enough killing, and that they must stay away from the demons. But Hyakimaru refuses and tells him that he does not care about what happened to the village. At that moment, Hyakimaru walks, but he doesn't find Dororo behind him. Like every time, we see Dororo walking alone on a road, sad that he's far from Hyakimaru. But by chance, he sees a group of people riding a horse, Dororo horse, and their leader is Itachi. He tells Dororo that he was looking for him, and he takes out a paper with half of Dororo's treasure map on it and asks him about the other him, but Dororo tells him he doesn't care, and he also shows his back to him, and there is nothing on him. But Itachi tells his men to bring it. Maybe he has memorized, and he keeps looking for Dororo, and he is very sad for him, and Itachi and his men reach a place where they rest and tie Dororo, and Itachi tells him that he knew that his father was stealing money and gold from the samurai and selling them in a faraway place, but he couldn't do or say anything because he was the leader. And when he decided to do like his father, the people of the village said about him, a traitor who is not one of them, and after a while, he saw the grave of Droro's mother and dug up the grave and took half of the map from her back, and Droro gets very angry after that and shouts at him, but he is tied up and can't do anything. The next day, they reach the first half of the map, and in front of them is a river they have to cross to continue, and they land on a village, but it is deserted and destroyed, and there is blood everywhere, even all the boats are destroyed. But a young fisherman comes to them with a severed arm and tells them that he has 2 boats, and they actually ride with him. But the strange thing is that the ones pulling the boat are 2 very big sharks, and the young man says that these 2 fish are his family, and at the same time, his friends, and when he found them hungry, he made them eat his arm because they grow quickly when they eat human flesh, and since then, they only eat human flesh, so he started bringing them, women and children, until he finished off the people of the village, men, and they know that they are far from the place they were going to, and the young man orders the sharks to stop, and tells the second shark to guard them until he returns of Itachi, and his men have lost hope of survival. But Dororo motivates them and makes a plan with them. So they tie him with a rope and he goes down to the sea, and Dororo continues to lure the shark until he comes out of the water, and Itachi and his men hit him with the sword until he dies, and they get rid of him. And on beach, they wait for the crazy fisherman until he returns, but they hit him, and Dororo tells them that's enough. But Itachi asks him about the map, and Dororo takes off all his clothes, and then he discovers the surprise, and we see after that the Dr. Gokai, treating people who lost parts of them in the war, but suddenly Monster attacks him, and he is about to kill him, but suddenly Hyakimaru comes and kills the monsters and is able to recognize Gokai and hugs him, and then takes Gokai to the cave and treats. Surprised, he makes him food and is surprised when also he finds that he has real skin and he can also hear and talk, and Gokai is very happy for Hikimaru and asks Hikimaru to make him a second leg instead of his leg, but Gokai is afraid that he will turn into a monster. We go after that to Daigo's house. We see the mother panicking, mother being very sad for her children and panicking after his injury. He has changed a lot, and it seems that the mother was able to speak again and was talking to Daigo about the statues, and that she was begging him to protect her son, and on the day of birth, that statue's neck separated from its body, which means that this statue was protecting Yokimaru, and thus the 12th demon did not take anything from its body, and thus it will continue to expel cursed until it finishes it, and the village will be cursed again, and the days of prosperity are over. And Daigo feels that her words are true, but he pretends not to care, and tells her that she should not worry about it, as well as the important is that she gets well, and he goes out and says to one of the guards, "Watch Hikimaru." So guard tells him that he saw Dororo, so Daigo asks him to watch her to know where Hikimaru is. At the same time, we see that Tahomer and his helpers went to an old house, and there is a demon in the house. We then return to Hikimaru, who is trying to remove the rocks that blocked, tells him that if he continues to fight his family and the demons like this, the whole world will end, and he will be left alone. But Hikimaru tells him that he will not be alone, and that someone at this time, Tahomer, is fighting a demon in the form of a huge mouse. But this mouse is female and has given birth to a large number of small mice. She prefers to forbid them so that they do not kill her children, but Tahomer kills her brutally. When the helpers ask her what to do with her children, she tells them not to kill them, but they set the whole house on fire. At this time, Gokai puts Hikimaru's chain on him.
the one with his family crest on it, tells him that as long as there is someone he trusts, that's it. He'll let him go. Hikimaru asks him about his name, but Gokai tells him it's not important and says, "Hikimaru, you're my mother." Gokai cries with happiness, and Hikimaru walks off to look for his friend Dororo, and at this time, Tahomer is forming a very strong army to kill Hyakimaru. And after that, we return to Dororo and Itachi, and we discover that Dororo is a girl, not a boy, and her father always
said she is a boy to protect her. But Itachi doesn't care and lets them bring her closer to the fire. Until I can draw the map on her back, they leave her tied up and walk away. Meanwhile, the young fisherman is sitting as a worker dreaming of his monsters and workers. He thinks about them and says that they were bigger than his family. He lets the shark that is still alive eat its sister, so the shark remains very strong and huge and will still attack. He turns and Hikimaru comes and protects her. A very strong battle takes place between the monster and Hikimaru, and he fights her until he is completely finished with her. He goes to his room and holds her cheeks. She is surprised and saddened by his tender behavior. He holds her by the face and tells her that he came for her, and she tells him that they will not leave each other again and that it is necessary. Then she hugs him, so he falls to the ground in pain, and the other leg is restored to him, and the gang reaches the treasure place, and the two of them enter. They explore the place, but they explode because the whole place is full of traps. They see a large fleet coming at sea, and it turns clash. This is Homer's army. There's a clash between the gang and the army. Dror appears, which is the gang's Camaro, and he tells them that they must escape, but Itachi refuses and tells them that he will never leave the treasure to anyone. So he comes to Homer's assistance, and Hikimaru fights them alone. Itachi betrays him and escapes, and one escapes. Hikimaru leaves with an arrow, and they keep fighting him until Itachi and Doro see the statues that were on the map treasure and go to find out the location of the treasure, but gets hit. The soldiers keep shooting arrows at him, and Itachi gets hit several times. Doro hides behind the statues, but they all fall and kill a large number of soldiers. After that, Itachi asks Doro for his last request, which is to see the treasure, but before they can do anything, the hunter comes and brings a large mountain of explosives and sets them on fire, and the whole mountain collapses. We see Doro and Itachi enter for the treasure, and he actually fulfills his wish and sees the treasure. After that, he dies, and each party returns to its place and prepares itself. We see Doro and Hikimaru walking on the road, and Hikimaru says that they are going to look for a blacksmith there is something affectionate, which is that Hikimaru has become affectionate towards everything, and when he saw a horse, he kept hugging it. They arrived at the village and asked about the blacksmith there, and there was a young man who showed them the way to the house. When they arrived and the blacksmith's daughter opened the door, her name is Okay. And Doro asked her about, and is Camiro, who approached her and grabbed her cheeks and told her that she is beautiful and not. Of course, the girl gets shy, and Doro does not know why he is doing this, and Okay takes them to her father, and she is shy and tells her father that there are people asking about him, but it looks like they came to marry her, and he takes them to the temple, and Okay is but something strange happens. A strange-looking creature appears on top of the temple, and no one notices Hikimaru but it disappears after that, and they return home, and Okay enters their room and brings them food. Her food, and Dolores starts eating, and Okay stops her and tells her that the dear guest is supposed to eat, for she wonders who this dear guest is. So she says to her, Kimaro,
Doro replies and tells her that they will make the swords and leave because they have missions. Okay tells her that she will come calm as gets angry with her.
Angry and tells her no, of course not, and that she is the only one who will go with Hayakimaru. Unusually, Hayakimaru says that he agrees to okay coming with Body. She gets very angry and asks him about his body, the monsters, and the war. He tells her that he doesn't want all of this and he doesn't want her either. Droro gets very angry, and OK tells them, "You are free even if you get married." OK tells her that they are really getting married, and Droro, crying, runs out of the house and keeps crying by the blacksmith's house and congratulate Hoke because she told the whole Droro watches them from afar and gets very upset. She quickly opens the door and she gets angry, and tells them that she is happy, but wonders why she said that, even though she is very upset, and she runs out and she doesn't know what to do. And at night she goes to the place where the sword is to get it, and she takes Hakimuro and runs away, but suddenly she finds a blacksmith wearing a cloak, and she hasn't finished the sword yet, and they sit talking until she falls asleep, and in the morning she doesn't know what to do, but a person controlling them, making them say things opposite to what they want, and she runs quickly to go to the temple Yakimaro temple, and at that time, OK is holding him and Yakimaro and pulling him to go to the temple and complete the marriage ceremony, and she arrives and finds the ghoul who is controlling them, and Yakimaro comes, but the ghoul takes control of him and makes him about to kill him, and he keeps strangling her until the blacksmith faints after that, and the blacksmith tells them that the ghoul escaped from one of the statues in the temple, and they can perform rituals and return it to its place. And OK tells the villagers that she made a mistake, and that she and Kamara will not get married. A young man comes and confesses his love to her in front of everyone, and they get married. After that, we see that diseases and poverty began to spread in the kingdom. We see Tohimur standing, and his assistant comes to him and tells him that a strange disease has spread in the village he was in, and many who are diseased have been struck by the disease, and even those who are alive have been struck by the disease, and if they die from the disease, they die of hunger. Tomer comes walking and finds a man begging him to give him any food because his son will die of hunger. So he gives him the food and swears prosperity again and kills his brother at that time. A man comes and tells, "Here there is a monster here, and it appeared 6 months ago and kills anyone in front of it." So they go with him, and the young man tells them that the monster also killed his mother and entered into a confrontation with him, but he couldn't do it, and they kept waiting until the monster of his body was from a different animal. Kimara was fighting him in Dala after Droro was in the form of a snake, so he ran after Droro and said that he would kill her, but Kimaro saved her, and we discovered the monster because not an hour ago his mother was killed, and he kept bringing people to the monster in order to hear a voice, their screams, and Droro, while she is Kimaru, fall on the rock they are standing on, and they fall to the ground. At this time, news of drought and destruction has reached Digwa, and they are also entering into a war with the country that is hostile to him. Droro has her shield between the rocks, and she cannot remove it, and Shikimaro cannot take it out because his hands are like swords, and water is also filling the place they are in, and come Neru, and Hayakimaru returns to kill the monster and continues to fight it until the end, when he cuts off half of his face, and the young man gets very upset and tells him that he wanted to be like him, but it is too late, and his mother
eaten, and the monster wakes up and eats the young man and turns into much stronger, and Drorob comes, and someone comes quickly, and it is Kiaro, and he also kills the young man who tells him, "You are a monster," and he keeps killing him, and he is very angry, and it is Kimaro, when he kills the monster, he does not get any part of his body back. Hikimaru back, so he gets upset and keeps hitting him and tells Hikimaru that his body is in Degawa's country and he will go to finish them off. So Yakimaru goes, and Dororo keeps running after him, and at that time Degawa is preparing for war and orders his soldiers to set fire to the village that has been filled with the disease and kill its people and bring young men for the war. And at that time one of his men comes to him and tells him that he saw Hikimaru and Dororo coming to our lands, and Homer hears them and says he told Degawa that they must kill. This time, Hikimaru is the one who will lead the army, and in the end, he tells him that he will really leave the army to his son and eyes. And Daigawa tells him that he sees strength and revenge in his son's eyes. At that time, the army is preparing, and we learn the story of the two assistants, that they are brothers, a boy and a girl, and the samurai killed their families, but Daigawa saved them. So they owe female assistant, not assistant, was infected with the contagious disease, but she does not tell anyone. We see Hikimaru and his horse in a deep place like a trench, and Hikimaru sees a lot. Then Tohomer comes out and fights him, and a very strong battle begins between them. Hikimaru manages to cut off the assistant's arms and wounds Tohomer. He was about to finish them off, but Daigawa's assistant comes and throws bombs at them. After that, he ignites his horse's bombs and goes towards Hikimaru, and he and the horse fall into the heart of the trench, and it explodes, and they take Dororo off with them, and Homer wants to finish him off, but the Musaheb shoots a sleeping arrow at him, and they all come back. After that, we see the horse was able to come back to life, but it became much stronger than before, and it looks like it was cursed, and the horse comes out, and it is Kimaro, but he does not find Dorora, and horse knows that they took him with them, and he takes the horse and goes after them while he is at the height of anger, and at that time the soldiers have arrived at the place of the battle, and they detain the aide because they know that she is injured, and the mother goes to escape Dorora from prison and tells her that this is her chance to help her son, and they enter after that a tunnel, and she walks in it, and she keeps telling her, "Tell that we will meet again so that you tell me about your son after the war ends." And she reaches her and says goodbye, but she runs after her and decides to go with. They get on the boat, and she remembers the mother after they took Kimaro from her, and she runs in the same. She found him, and her wish is to see him again before she dies, but the waves are very high, and their boat is broken. But Dororo wakes up and knows that Naru saved them and sees their mother saving the people in the village. We later learn that Degawa's army started to attack, but suddenly a very strong hurricane comes and we discover that it is Himaru and the horse, and he keeps killing them with all his strength until he kills half of the army, and we see the assistant escaped from detention and reached an Devil's Hall and tries to make an agreement, but after that her brother and Tohomer come, and the agreement is not completed because she is not of Degawa's blood. At that time, Komaro has finished off the entire army to the last one, and all of this because he is looking for Dorora and is still on his way with Tohomer, appears in front of him with his assistants, and we discover that all their bodies have
returned healthy again. And we learn that the devil made an agreement agreement with Homer, and gave him his body Kimaru, and screams. And Homer, he took his brother's eyes, so Hikimaru screams with all his strength and attacks him, and the battle is very intense between Hikimaru and Homer, and the horse fights the helpers. And after that, Dororo and his father Hikimaru reach the place where the battle is, but Nar stops them and tells them that Hikimaru will not see anyone now but revenge, and that he must take his revenge himself. The mother says that the country could have prospered without their sacrifice of Hikimaru. Hikimaru, but there is no solution, and it is too late. Hikimaru and Homer continue to fight each other, and the horse is about to kill one of the helpers. But the two of them hit him with the sword, so he cuts off the head of one of them and hits the girl with all his strength, but they both die, and the horse dies. At that moment, Kimamaru and his two hands return to him, and his brother. The brother attacks her, but he evades the attack. Homer approaches to hug him, but Homer stops her, telling her that this is not her son, this is a curse, not curse. He runs after Kimamaru because he does not want. Dororo and his mother see him in this state, but Homer runs after him to kill him, and the battle between them is very strong, and they reach a large field and they keep fighting in it, and at that time the people of the village have buried the assistants and the horse, and one of them says that this means that if Hikimaru regains his body, the destruction will spread again, so they hit him and keep hitting him because he also wants to live on Hikimaru's body, and the mother also tells them that they will not be able to do anything, and we see Hikimaru and Homer fighting each other until they reach on the palace of Daegwa, and the palace is then on fire, and they keep fighting each other, carrying the fire, and Dororo and her mother run to the palace to save anything they can, and the war continues between the two siblings, and they fight each other, not caring about the fire that fills the place around them. But the mother wants to intervene. She tries to go from the direction of the tunnel from which she came, whoever came out, and Gokai is there, and whoever wants to enter to check on Hikimaru, they both enter, and the war continues between them, and Homer keeps remembering the days when he was couldn't, because the one in her heart is Homer, and she feels hatred and jealousy towards him for a long time, and Hikimaru is able to hurt Homer, and he had a chance to kill him, but he refuses, and when his brother asks him, "Why didn't you kill me?" he tells him that he can't kill him, but control. But of course the devil tries to control Homer, and he tries to resist, so he takes out the eyes of the two of them and throws them away. And the eye, which is Kimamaru, comes back, and Dororo enters from above the palace, but a very big monster appears on the palace grounds, but Hikimaru, mother, kills him and passes. After that, he falls unconscious, and his mother comes with Gokai and hugs him and says that she had to hold him the day they took him from her, embrace everyone, and that she will never leave him again, and everyone tells. So Gokai runs away with Kimamaru and Dororo, and the mother hugs Homer, and so everything ends, and the mother dies, and Gokai dies, and Homer dies as well, and we see Dororo talking to a group of young men, telling them that this country needs money, and that she has her father's treasure, and Yakimaru goes to talk to his father, who is very sad, and asks him if the country looks like this, and he is the reason for all of this, and Daegwa wants. But Hikimaru gives him a statue of his mother and tells him that he must leave this devilish thinking
and work hard for the country and stay away from evil, because everything that happened to the country is because of him. After that, the second returns to his role, and it is clear that life between them will be good after this, and here ends the story of the hero, Hikimaru. If you like the summary, do not forget to like and subscribe, because this encourages us to continue. I left you the link below in the description. Go and subscribe to it to know the news first. And in the end, do not forget to pray for the prophet. I will see you in a new